Okay, so tonight I want to do the other half of this project example, or this project examples, the hinge container or object project. We did a hinged lidded object last class. Tonight, I want to show you how to model a hinged utilitarian tool, object, that sort. You can do whatever you want. Pair of pliers, some scissors, cooking tongs, doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do, so long as it's basically a two-part object that we can apply a hinge to and find some hardware for it. So I am going to model this pair of channel pliers. Now, I'm not going to model the slip joint into this because that's irrelevant at the moment. I just want to model this part and we'll go from there. So where do I get started? Well, standard procedure, let's make a framing box and go from there. But before we get started, what's the real first thing you do? Save a damn file. Make sure you save it with the proper title so you know what's going on and it will auto save properly. If you don't start with a saved file, it will save, auto save, but it's a lot less reliable. So standard rule, save early, save often. Example, Pliers. All right, run away. So standard thing, first things first, I'm going to start a sketch and I'm going to make a bounding box, just a reference size box. And I have my pair of calipers here, digital calipers. These are pretty cheap, but they work well. I'm going to double check. I am working in millimeters. Again, if you want to switch between metric and SAE imperial, remember you go to your hierarchy tree, first drop down, document settings, units, little notepad, you change over. I'm going to stay with metric because it makes more sense to me. And it's more directly translatable to the 3D printer. So just to get a general size, this is slightly too large, 150 to, I should have used a pair or a ruler, but this is close enough. So 150, 200. Okay, so I'm going to start with nope, not that one. I want a center point rectangle. All right. 200 by the largest part here, which is the handles, or the handle out there, 56 by 56. Where's my other tab over? 56. All right, and I want that to be a construction box or a construction line, so leave that to right there, or select the whole line, double click on it, press X or select there, and done. All I want is just this bounding box for right now, just to give myself my reference points. All right. Now, something I want you to note, on the last project, we were doing some sketches and then starting different components. First, what I want to do here tonight is I'm not going to make separate components until after I finish my sketch, because with a pair of pliers or scissors or something like that, scissors, sort of kind of ish, because those are definitely different. But with a pair of pliers, what I'm doing is instead of making two separate objects, I'm going to start with one sketch of one half of these pliers, and then I'm going to not mirror it because the two halves are not mirrors. They're rotations of one another. So I'm going to finish one side, then I'm going to create a component and extrude that component, or extrude the sketch into that component, or activate the component and get there. But we'll go there. So I've got my basic box, because if I drew these in one component or the other, it gets a little it gets more difficult to translate sketches from one to the other. But if I leave the sketches on the full project and then create my components later, I can isolate stuff more easily. So I got my sketch there. Let's label that. Layout size, great. Another sketch, same place. Now this is where I'm going to start modeling. All right, so how do I break something like this down? Well, the easiest thing to do is I like to start right from wherever my hinge point's going to be. So right there, the center. So I'm going to use my calipers to measure up from the center to the tip of the pliers, and that is 48 millimeters. So to do that, I'm going to, since I'm working from the tip of the pliers, not from the center of my box, this is just a reference size, I'm going to use a line, switch that to construction line by either clicking on the toolbox or pressing X. Right smack in the middle, we zoom in. My crosshair there goes to an X with the triangle, which is the marker for center, and draw out 48 millimeters. There we go. So right there, right is going to be my center line. Just here is my start point, and over there is where the end of the pliers are going to be. So this is going to be my center point, not the origin point. So let's start from there. How big is the circle? Well, the problem is with this pair of pliers, this is set in with a very steadfast, well, not really, it's probably pretty slot. Oh, geez, it is. It's not even peened in place. That figures. So I can take a measurement off of the screw. That's 5.5, so great. I can start with a center point circle. Make sure to turn off my line type. That is, I want it to be a solid line, and that is going to be 5.5 millimeters. Boom. All right, let's start building out from there. Now, this is going to be a little tricky because this pair of pliers, where a lot of them actually have the hinge right smack in the center, this is offset. So I just made this a lot more complicated for myself. Let's see what I can do about it. So basically, yeah, that is going to be problematic. Jeez, that's not in the center. I might have to cheat on this one. No, we'll see. All right, let's start with the pair of pliers at the tip. So basically, I'm just making my way through. I'm going to measure how far back from the tip is that the first notch, and that is 11.5. So with that, draw a line there. Now, this is going to end up as a jagged line later, but I'm going to put 11.5. Now, if this starts to flop around, you can always either try to eyeball it back in place, or if I need to, tab over and press 90 degrees because I want that. Actually, no, that should have been 0. Duh. 0, so it's only going to go there. Great, that's what I need. All right. Then from there to there, I have the next spot, which is all the big old teeth, and that's about 15.5. So I'm breaking this up by parts, line parts, so I can give myself reference points. That was 15.5, right about there. Great. All right, and that's where basically the rest of my pliers start. Nope, there's a wee little notch there. So that is about 9 from there. All right. And that is 9 millimeters. There we go. Okay. Now, I start working through this. How wide are those teeth from there? That's about 5 millimeters up and down. So what I can do for areas like this, I can start. The reason I wanted to start it like this is breaking this up is, yeah, I can go in and draw the lines in by hand, all that sort, but let the program do some work for you. So the shape of the inside of this pair of pliers is more of an oval. So that's exactly what I'll use. I'll use an ellipse. So just like a circle, you find the center point right there, and then is between this area, exactly where I want. Find the first section, which goes to that first start point, and then it goes up. Total is, when I took my measurement, 5 millimeters. Boom, there we go. Great, I can start with that. So those are gonna be my reference point. Next, you're gonna build the upper part of the jaw. Now remember, I'm only building one of these. So whichever one I choose, that's the one you choose. So for this upper part, first I need to measure just that flat spot. And I'm not measuring the whole thing, just from the center to the tip of it. And that is about 4. Cool. So that is from here, 4 millimeters up. There we go. Now this is where you can really start to kind of guesstimate stuff. So I know that my pliers go up and down so far. This actually would be a lot easier if I took this apart. Hey, if you have the option, maybe let's take it apart. Nah, not gonna let me. Okay, that's fine. So here, now I need to also draw upwards. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make this kind of oval shape for the overall top and bottom. Let's make it that. So the overall is 32. So that means the top needs to be 16 up. So I'm gonna use the line here, and I'm going to put another construction line to give myself a reference point. So I'm just using a line, and I'm measuring out where might be the center for all of that, right there. The reason I know is because it's giving me the center icon, the triangle, and it looks about right. So I'm going to go with that. Draw upwards, and we need it 16. And we'll tab over to make sure that is 90. Okay. These are just reference points. And again, the reason I'm doing that is so I can have a spot to draw an arc from. So let me change back over to regular line, and I'm going to use a fit point spline. From here, start point, this needs to go up and out. Needs to reach that point. That looks real wonky, but I can fix that in a moment. It needs to go outward from here, and this is where it's going to go down for the handle. Let's make sure that's somewhere on the center line. Start drawing out. And I know this needs to match somewhere out at the very edge of my box here. And then somewhere. All right, now I'm gonna need to fix some of these in a moment, but that's a pretty good estimate. Well, except for that terrible little point there. Let's drag that out a bit. Let's make this make just a skosh more sense. And that really doesn't look right, does it? Now we'll figure it out. And adjust my handlebars. There we go. I think what's happening here is just fiddling with this. Maybe you'll actually see my point. Yeah, great. Give me the, thank you. I think I made that point too tall. Yeah, let's see. All right. Let's see. How tall is that? Well, that's about right. Weird. Well, if you decide that you are, if you decide you need to change that and such, one of the things I want to show you here is because I made that fit point spline fit to the end of this construction line, I'm going to show you something that already has a dimension lock because I specifically put it in as 16 millimeters up. Double click on that. And if I decide, oh, you know what, I mismeasured, that's supposed to be 14 millimeters. You type in 14. Because that vertex, that point of the fit point spline was attached to the end of that line, it moved with my measurement adjustment. So it's just a neat feature that things are connected. So let me keep kind of fiddling with that. That looks slightly less awful. Okay, cool. There we go. That looks something-ish what I'm trying to go for. Now, of course, I still need to make some other adjustments here. And main thing is I need to make the other side of the rest of the line. Not the other side of the pliers, just the other side of this line. I think I realize what confused me is I am basically working in a mirror here. Jeez. Yep, I am just confusing the crud out of myself here. All right. I got there to there. Sorry, just getting lost in my own drawing here. Because I realized I did something foolish here and I have it the opposite direction. That's all right. Okay. Outside edge. Brain fart. There we go. Now I realize what I did. So this inside line is, I accidentally had it swapped out, meaning that all of these points need to be closer up here. So let me just give myself another quick reference. I need to measure the inside of this, of the pliers here. All right, it's 24. So half that is 12. Draw myself another reference line, construction line from the center. I want that to be 12. Oh, wow, that's pretty much right on where I put that, isn't it? Cool. Okay. Well, a couple things. What that means is my final point actually needs to snap to there. So I'll click and drag to there. But I need all of these to move in a fair amount. And how much? Measure the thickness of the handle. Granted, I have this, there's this plastic dip handle part on there, but we'll estimate that is actually about 10 millimeters. Great. So what I need to do is I need to select several of these points. So I want that one. Press and hold shift, that one, and that one. I need those to move up. So I select the move tool, drag up. These are all connected. Now that's going to be a problem. I'm just making a terrible mess of this. This isn't moving because this point is linked to my other sketch. So what I need to do is right click on that point and unfix it. See if that works. Yes, that point, if you please. Why is my crosshair not coming up here? Need to move that. Great. What's going on here? Fine. You know what? Just we'll delete you then. There. What do you think about that? Delete those points. Drag this up. Always stuff that can happen as you start getting more complex line work. Okay. What the? I forgot to capture the dew point. Move it up a bit. There we go. That works well. Press enter instead of escape. There we go. All right. That's what I confused myself with. So now what I need to do is move these, or now I need a copy of these points. So I could use the offset tool, maybe. Problem is, see, it's going to do the whole, it's going to offset all of that. And that's definitely a problem. But let's move that 10 millimeters. Well, why is it giving me an error there? There we are. It's also trying to make it a construction line. So I'm going to deselect that. There we are. So that gives me a double line. Cool. That can work, except obviously the problem here is it's doing the whole line. So what I'm going to probably need to do instead, let's see if this will let me. Nope, it won't. So might just have to draw that by hand. Well, that's fine. Okay. So we'll draw that by hand, and I need this somewhere. I need the other part of this to go somewhere in here. But before I do, let me do a quick check on how big the other offset of this pair of pliers is. That needs to come out about 10 millimeters. So all I'm doing is I'm just working my way around. So one other thing I'm doing is making the other side of these pliers here. And do another construction line. Right, center, down. Tell you what, actually, what's going on here? Stop it, stop it, stop it. Line tool, construction from the center. It is 10, but I need to add the difference of that. So that should be 12.5. Nope, 12.5. Okay, cool. There we go. All right. So that's just drawing the other side of it. So from here, fit point spline, turn off the construction line because I don't need the X. Oop, there we go. All right. And I'm just going to try to duplicate this curve as best I can. Again, I know that at some point it actually makes contact there, somewhere there, and somewhere there. Okay. Hit enter. I, of course, have all of my lines to work with there. Now we're getting somewhere. All right. So that looks okay-ish. I want to make a circle between here like I did before. So let's go to create. I want a circle, but if I draw a 2-point circle from here to here, well, that's going to extend outside of the box that I want. So instead, let me Control Z. If you haven't before, check out the other options you have. Circle here. You have your points, center point, 2-point, 3-point. I also have tangents. And what that allows me to do is make a circle between a set of lines. So let's try the 3-tangent one. Well, for one, I want it to be a tangent to this line. I don't know if it'll let me on fit point splines. It will not. Well, poop. Fine. So what you do, figure out the best way you can. Let's double check the dimensions between here. So I go to inspect, measure. I just want to measure the point between these two. So that's 7.5. We'll just round out. All right, 7.5. Okay. So let's create then a circle. And I will use the 2-point circle, but somewhere out here. There to there. That looks pretty close. I can instead actually just measure out to, looks like it is just making contact with that line, with my bounding box line. Yeah, that works. Hit OK. Cool. Now, if you want to make sure that these are connected, I just did that freehand. I want to use some of my constraints. Go up to the top here. my constraints for my line drawings is ways I can manipulate and add dimensions, or rather requirements, constraints to the drawings that I've done. And I want to use the tangent. So just like using your joint tool, your first selection is what will move, and the second selection is what it moves against. In this case, moves against another line. So I'm going to select the circle. So my circle is selected. Now I'm going to select this line. It shifted just a little bit, but now that tangent icon comes up. Great. Do it again. Circle, and I want to see, and I want it against this line. And it might not let me because fit point splines do weird things. All right, well, that's close enough. We can always adjust that stuff later. Great. Let me trim out some chunks here. Chop that one, and chop that one. Great. Now that's a closed circle, and we're good. Okay, that looks pretty close. That might need to change a little bit. Maybe we adjust one of the splines here. Drag that up. Adjust that a little bit. Ooh, try not to mess it up too much. There you go. All right, looks good. So now what I'm just trying to do here is get just the little bit left of the pliers here. And again, I've really messed myself up because I'm using a pair of adjustable pliers, and that's really going to throw things off. So let's see what I can do about it, and then I might have to make some adjustments in a bit. But basically, let's see here. How can I really do that? Jeez, that really throws me off. Got to be a little differenty about how I go about this. So from here to here, there is a bit of another spline element. Curves over. About there. Yep. And then now you see as I close that line up, if I mouse over, the whole thing goes light blue. That's showing me that that is now a closed line. Cool. That's what I need. And I do want to make this one last adjustment here. There is a bit of a notch here. So I take a straight line and it goes kind of from there to about to there. That's about right. Might need to move that around. See, now that I've made those 2 point connections, now I can drag this one around and I can just adjust as I need. Pretty cool. It's a really great feature with this. Problem is I realized I did it the wrong way. But luckily, I can drag it around. Great. There we go. And okay, just to make some things a little bit easier, that is a really rough point here. I can use a fillet between those and smooth out that line, that corner a little bit, so it's a little bit easier to work with. There we go. Nice. That rounded it out. Great. Okay. Now this is a very rough drawing for time's sake. For one, I would recommend something that's not quite as adjustable as this one. That's my bad. But that's a very rough idea, or that's a very rough set of pliers. Great. Now, one other thing I do want to point out, I'm going to be adding some features into this, but I'm going to do that after the fact because it might make it a little bit easier for me. But one of the other things is when you look at these pair of pliers, remember, yes, one side is flat to itself, but when you get to a certain point, the actual jaws beyond the hinge to the jaws, it's thicker here than it is anywhere else. So what you should do is that's effectively going to be an extrusion in 2 directions. Keep that in mind, and I'll show you what we're going to do about it in a moment. So let's finish the sketch. Let me hide the first one, layout. And then now that is pliers side. Great. All right. Oh, something's up here. Okay, good. We're good. We're good. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So now what I'm going to do is from here, let's save. Here's sketch done. Use the home button. I'm going to create one side, and then I'm going to throw it into a component. So a different way of working this is I'm going to use Extrude, select my parts. We're all good. It actually selected all of the things. How thick does this need to be? That is 3.6. So I'll say 3.6 millimeters. It extrudes up. Great. Now, of course, my sketch disappeared. So let me go unhide that just so you can see what I'm doing here. Like, all right, great. So that's one side of the pliers. Well, the issue is, like I just said, that is one side, but I need this other half because when I go to move this around, they're going to be offsets and there's going to be some stuff that gets messed up. Same thing for the handles. I took a dimension right from the thinnest point, not from the handles and such, because the actual handles, again, it's got this rubber wrap on it, but that's 12 millimeters, and the actual tip of the pliers is actually 10 millimeters. So it's significantly thicker overall. So how do I do that? How do I adjust for that? Because what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to, instead of mirror, I'm going to copy and rotate this to make the other half, because it's not a mirror, it's a rotation. It's the same part, just rotated over. But I need dividers here to make this thicker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check on my pliers and such and the handles, or rather the tip and the handle. And like I said, it needs to extend further. So what I can do is, for one, I'm going to draw a line here. I'm going to add this line. But this doesn't have to be part of your sketch. This can be drawn onto the body so that you can just break it up easier. You can do it this way. You can add it into your original sketch. It really doesn't matter. But just for the sake of workflow, show you how to do it this way. All right. So I want to, on this part, extrude downward. And let's just go to bottom view. And let's see. That is roughly 23 millimeters from the end. So let's start a new sketch. And instead of selecting the working plane, I'm going to select the actual bottom of the pliers, which is actually the original plane, but whatever. All right. So let me orbit back down. Of course, my sketch panel is hidden. There we are. And first, I want to make that sketch reference. So from the tip, a construction line of, what did I just say? 25 millimeters. Right there. All right. And then I want to draw another one. Only this one, I want to disable the line type, and I want it to be a real line. From there, straight up or down to the edge. Hit OK. Because now I can split this body up, this handle up. Same thing for the handles. All right. Let's measure from the very back to the front. Actually, I'm going to go to about right there. That's 90. Okay, cool. Same deal. F6, zoom out before I finish the sketch. Let's go from the corner, construction line, over 90 millimeters. There we are. Hit enter. Another line. Take off the construction line, straight across to right there. Great. Hit finish. All right. The reason I did this, now look, when I select here, if I go to extrude, I can select just those parts. Supposed to be able to select just those parts. What's going on here? I do it on the line. Well, now you're just making me look bad, Fusion. Let's be honest, I'm making me look bad. I don't know why it's doing that. That's odd. That should be on the face. That's very strange. Tell you what then, you'll hide the body. Fine. What we'll do, very strange. What is going on? Why can't it? All right. For some reason, somehow, it looks like these are two separate lines. I'm not sure, but let's check this. Let's try this. Not sure what's going on there. Let's try to extrude. It's selecting the whole body. That's really strange. That line is there. I've not had that happen before. I have no idea why it's not dividing those. Huh. Very strange. All right, well, let's go back to the sketch, edit sketch. Way to fix that is that means I'm just going to borrow some geometry from the other lines. So what that means is I'm going to use the projection lines. So I'm going to press P. I need that one, need that one, that one, that one, that one. It's already selected. Great. I need that one and that one. Okay. Now, there we go. It wasn't liking having just pieces of lines from multiple sketches. Okay. So use project, pull lines from the other sketches, add them to there. Okay. Unhide the body. Nice and creepy like. All right. So remeasure, that's going to be 12. And what was my original extrusion? So this is where you got to try to write stuff down as such. Edit feature, just so I can remember what it was. 3.6. So let's math that out. Oh, that is brain fart. 8.4. Okay. Come on. There you go. All right. Now I can extrude again. So from that side, I need that to go down, negative 8.4. Boop. Seems pretty excessive, doesn't it? That's okay. We'll fix it in a minute. So it's still going to join. Yes. Now I left this intentionally rectangular because I'm going to show you how to smooth that out. The other part is how thick is this thing actually overall? The pliers, 9.5. And we'll just round that because the whole thing's 3.6. So let's just say 6 millimeter extrusion. Extrude again. What is going on? Why did it? Oh, wait. Oh, there we go. Hid my sketch. What the? Well, that is just irritating. Why is it? Why are you like this? I don't know why it did that. Let me go back and check that sketch again. That's really weird. Well, you don't learn through doing it right the first time. You learn by figuring out what's wrong. All right, so let's just project again. Make sure we're getting all of the lines. Looks like that might have been it. Let's try that. There it is. I hadn't grabbed the end of the pliers. Make sure you're finished. Okay, one more time. There we go. Them's the parts we want. So -6. I don't want it to cut. I guess it did. What? There, -6. Great. Jeez. Be as confusing as we possibly can. Okay, great. So this is a lot of this stuff's going to get rounded over and such. But one of the things I wanted to show you here is on my pliers, there's this big wedge as it goes upwards. And the reason I left this part here angled like this is I'm going to use a different tool to smooth that out. I use a chamfer tool because it's a pretty sharp angle. And I'm going to just drag this outward until it kind of smooths. Now, is that smooth? No. But it's about as far as it'll take it. So let's see, 8.5. Nope, 8.2, 8.3. There we go. All right. Nice little taper there, and I can round that over in a minute. Okay, save, user saved. Let's go with pliers side. Extruded. All right. All right. So let's hide these sketches, smooth this stuff all out. Now from here, yes, I can absolutely start to smooth things out using fillets and such. Right at the top, let's see about smoothing that over. I don't know, 0.5. Round that out, maybe 1. Not 0.1, 1. So these are the kind of things I selected the entire upper edge. That works, stuff like that. But I'm going to do that in a minute. I don't want to do that right now. Because first, I want to show you all how to, now that I've built this, this is all still on the same component. So what I want to do is I want to actually make different ones so I can still animate this and such. So, all right. So I've got this component, or I've got this body on the original component. I go up to new component selection, and it automatically selects the existing body. That's perfectly fine. That's actually what I want. So I'm going to change this to side 1. And I can select that. It's already selected the parent from bodies. That's fine. Click OK. Now what it has done, the body still exists on that first original component, but it's now built onto a second component. Now it's supposed to be. Looks like it didn't actually do it. It looks like it left part of itself behind. All right, fine. Let's just undo that entirely. There. New component from bodies. That. There we go. Same deal. There we go. It was supposed to transfer the body over. That's what we wanted. All right. So I want that original body. Side 1 body. Component. Side 1 component. Great. So now, easy peasy part. Anytime I do any of this stuff, make sure that make sure you got that all in the one's component, all of that, we're good. Because now what I want to do, like I said, this is not a mirror. This is a rotation and copy. So I'm going to select the move tool. What I want to do is select the entire component, that one. And if you look down at the bottom of your toolbox here, now you have the option, a checkbox, to create copy. Basically, what we're going to do is copy and paste. Just copy and paste and move in one move. So select the create copy button. And what I'm going to do is what I actually want. For one, I'm going to rotate this 90 degrees. Or sorry, 180 degrees. But look what that just did. It threw it all out of whack. So let's go back to 0. But I want to change where I'm moving this from. So I'm going to select on the toolbox, select pivot point. And what I want to do is actually select, basically like I was using this as a joint. I'm going to do the same thing that I've done to locate joints onto faces and such. So I actually want that spot right there. But you see when I try to mouse over that, the coordinates change and get all wonky. So I'm going to mouse over this face, press and hold Control or Command if you're on Mac. Press and hold, locks my selector, and it gets a little wonky here. Sometimes getting the selection is hard. There we go. Let's see if it actually got it how I wanted it to be. Kind of. Not really. That's not where I wanted it. So let's select again. Come on. Why are you not letting me select right there? There we go. The reason I'm checking up in front is I want to make sure that my selection is straight in line with my tool. Great. That's what I want. All right. I've got it put. I've got it placed. Now select again the set pivot checkbox. It says that I'm done. Yep. It locks my selection in place. Now I can orbit around and view as I want. I'm creating a copy. So grab that, rotate around 180 degrees. And it looks like I grabbed it slightly in the wrong spot. That's okay. But you see how now I moved it in a completely different direction. Yeah, it's all kinds of wonky. That's okay. I still have the selection in place. I haven't moved, or I haven't deselected. So what I can do is now drag it into position. Boop, 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 boop. Of course, it's in between. So my increments are set to 1 millimeter increments when I'm moving something, which is problematic sometimes. So go to my selection box and say 3.5. Is that right? Not quite. So let's say 3.4. And that looks better. And clearly my original extrusion was too much, so I'll adjust that. And I'm not sure why. Looks like I grabbed it just slightly out of whack. Let's look up here. All right, yep, that is slightly out of whack still. So let's drag it into position properly. It's somewhere between 0 and 1. So let's say 0.9. 0.8. I'm just kind of estimating here. 0.7. Looks like 0.7 or 0.75. There we go. That looks about right. Obviously, I'm going to zoom in, and of course, it's not going to be exact, but that's because I accidentally set my point there instead of right in the middle. Oh, well. Looks pretty close. Orbit around. Oh, we're way off, aren't we? Jeez. All right, well, clearly my selection was far from where I wanted it to be. That is problematic. Let's drag that up in place. Jeez. Those two should be making contact. Jeez. Come on. All right, to, I don't know, 0.5. Got to make this as difficult as possible, don't we? There we go. All right. Looks like my extrusions are off, so I'll have to adjust that. That's okay. Not sure how that ended up working out that way. Probably I took some measurement from the wrong spot. That's all right. I'll fix it. Okay. Now, because I selected that create copy, if you look down, there is another component saying side 1.2. It's making a complete new object, new component. Clicked OK. And I don't know why the color is the same. That is irritating. Whatever. Okay. So that is all kinds of wonky. Let's fix it. So let's go to the original. Now, the thing is, because these are copies, an adjustment on the first one should adjust the other. Let's find out. All right. So what I need to do then is reactivate the whole thing. And let's find my original extrusions. First one to find. Great. So let's roll back to extrusion 1, which is for the handle, I believe. So what was that original one? 3.5? Yeah, or 3.6. Tell you what, let's just double that. So that way these things line up properly. So edit feature. Instead of -8.4, let's just make that 3.6. Join. So now the handles are in place where they should be. Yes. I need to adjust that that chamfer. Edit feature for the other one. Instead of -6, again, let's make that -3.6. There we go. So now my pliers are significantly less horrible looking. And again, because the one side is a copy from the original, anything I do to the first is adjusting the others. Last thing is I want to adjust that chamfer. Let's make that less terrible. What? Looks like somewhere between 3.5. Yeah, 3.6. Hey, there we go. Okay. All right. Now that's adjusted. Great. So let's save. All right. So cool. So that shows you how you can make a pair of pliers, but make one side, and instead of moving, copying, making a whole nother side, anything like that, if you rotate or if you make the second one as a copy, anything you do to the first, if anything you go back and edit from the first one will affect the second one. Easier way to work, let the program do the work. Don't make yourself do this all on your own. Okay. So stuff at this point would be, now let's find some basic hardware to use. Now, yes, I am still going to adjust the teeth on this thing and all that such, but give me a moment. So let's insert some hardware from McMaster-Carr. Let's use some screws and a metric. And that was, what was that, 3.5? That was really an M5? For some reason I thought it was something different. M5 hardware. I want to use a button cap because they look nice. Rounded button cap. And overall, I'm going to need this to be, that looks like a 15mm head. There we go. Stainless. Make sure to adjust from SolidWorks. I want to use a step file. Download. Give it a second while it thinkifies. Whoop, there we go. Cool. All right. Move that in, capture position where it is. Fine. There we go. And just while we're on this, let me go ahead and find a nut to fit this bolt. Nut, metric, M5. Put in my actual selection bits here, and then we'll go from there. Let's see what they have. Maybe a flange nut. I don't know, because reasons. Metric flange nut, sure. It's saved by selection as a step file. Download. Whoop. There we are. And because I need this rotated already, let's go ahead and put it 180 degrees around and capture its current position. Great. Okay. Drop the hardware in. Now, this is where some stuff gets awkward to fit. Now, before, we had the option of placing this by the center. But where I want to put this using a joint, I need to move this this bolt over to the center here. But my selection is actually up inside, underneath the head here, but inside of the threads. So to do that, let me go ahead and select a joint. I want to select here. And again, if I mouse over underneath the cap here, this flat side, press and hold Control. Now it's only going to select whatever shares that plane, and I can snap to that point a lot more easily. Select there, ghosts out. Oops, sorry. And same, I want to select right there. If I have trouble selecting it, mouse over the upper surface, press and hold Control. Right to there, and whoop, flies in. Great. Now, I can leave this as a revolute joint. If I want, I could also say, like, let's make this a rigid joint. So, yeah, let's do that. Glue it in place. Great. Got that hardware down there. Looks like I probably should have selected a shorter one. That's all right. For now, do another joint. I want to do the same thing for the nut, because I can't, it's really difficult to select inside of a threaded hole. So mouse over the top here, press and hold Control. It allows me to mouse over and select that spot in the center of the open cylinder. Select there. Now again, if this were a different program, these would have overlapping issues, but I want to put this in the center here. Easiest to do is just hide that bolt. And now I want that in the crosshair there. So press and hold Control again, snap to there, whoop, part flies over. Great. And yeah, sure, we'll leave it as a rigid joint. That's all right. That's not a problem. Unhide the screw. So yeah, that's definitely too long a screw. Should have selected a different one, and I can go back and fix that just by selecting something different. But there we go. Hardware imported. All right. So those are just some really basics. Now, again, is this a complete pair of pliers? No, not at all. This needs the teeth and all that such, and any kind of edge work and such like that. So the easiest thing to do for stuff like that is I can go back in history to the original drawing, edit sketch, way back there. This is where I can add like the little features of teeth and such like this. So I want to show you all a couple of easy ways to do this. So one thing is to make the teeth for the very tip. They're basically tiny triangles. So let's draw a little triangle there. Mouse into here. Let's say, I don't know, 1.5. Sure. And that's going to be at 60 degrees if we're making an equilateral triangle. Whoops. What did I just do? I didn't tab over. There we go. 60 degrees. That is slightly better. Yes. All right. Again. Now back down. Make sure that's 60 degrees, and then until it intersects. Great. Okay, well, cool. Do I have to keep drawing that? No. Let's use we've used circular patterns to make the same object rotate, or the same object be a sketch object, an actual object component, circle around a center axis. We also have the rectangular pattern. This is how you move stuff in a grid-like pattern. So you have two options. You can, first, I want to select my parts here, just of those. And I can move it in two directions. I can use sliders by dragging the distance, and you have options here by extent or by spacing. How far should those be spaced? Or the overall extent, meaning how long of the overall size. So since that's pretty close, 1.5, let's use 3 millimeters. Great. I can also use the other arrow to go in another direction. So this is how you can make a total grid shapes. But I don't need that one at all, so let's just leave that at 0. The other thing I can add is with this little back and forth slider is add numbers. Quantity. So sometimes this takes a little finagling, but back and forth between different dimensions, stuff like that. But let's say, I don't know, let's say 8. See what that does. So let's drag that out. Close. Yeah, that's spot on. Great. Not quite. That's going to give me problems. So let's choose 7 quantity. And then we will adjust for that. Yeah, that's fine. I don't mind there being that little gap there. My overall, I don't know, 9.5. Let's change that a little bit. See if I can kind of split the difference on some of this stuff. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay. So now, using the rectangular pattern, now I've created, I mouse over, finish sketch. Now, I'm probably going to have to change that original extrusion, but that's all right. Let me edit the feature. And I just deselect. My drawings went away. That profile. Didn't transfer that over to the other extrusion. That's irritating. Not sure why. Huh. Oh, yeah, it did. If I look up, it's extruding from there and on the other side. What the problem is my other side extrusion didn't include that. So now when I go and select my profile again for the rest of this, problem is to see, since I drew this on multiple sketches instead of all in the same one, it doesn't transfer as readily. So this is definitely one of the reasons why it's better to go back and actually adjust your original sketch rather than adding sketches on top. Not a big deal, just something to be aware of. So what I need to do is clearly, instead of adjusting that extrusion, hit cancel. I need to find that sketch, edit the sketch. Now, what I need to do is use my project tool again and come in and choose all that again. There we go. So now I got my faces all selected, all that stuff. Great. Okay. Finish that sketch. You see now it's showing the other drawing. So select the other extrusion. There we go. Deselect all that. Reselect, so without the teeth, join, and it automatically updates the other copied side to have my little teeth there. Great. That's the kind of thing you want. So let's save. Yes. Again, edit teeth. Now, obviously, I need to also add the larger ones for the oval, and that, of course, gets problematic because sketching, you can't quite just use your regular sketch pattern there. You can, of course, however, pattern on a path, just to make stuff more confusing. So just showing you different ways of using different pattern tools. Okay, so what did we just learn? adjust the original sketch. So let's go all the way back, adjust to there. So what I'm going to do is, let's say smack in the middle here. These are significantly better or bigger teeth. So I don't know. Let's go right in the center of where my ellipse is. I'm going to use a construction line again for, I don't know, 2. Let's see, how big is that? Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. If I had finer calipers, I could actually measure these teeth, but that's all right. So let's say there. Yeah, what's going on? Line tool, not construction line. Down from there, let's tab over to use 60 degrees and to there. Great. Do it again from that center point. 60 degrees. Intersect. Great. Okay. All righty. So we have these sketch parts. Go to create. And instead, rectangular pattern. Where did my sketch on a path? Ah, poop. It's part of the pattern on the pattern. Ugh. It's always gets irritating. Fine. Let's finish sketch. Let's see what I can do with this. Looks like it's going to make me pattern only full objects. Yep. So what that means is I have to extrude that feature. Not a problem. Okay. So let's go to the original extrusion. Edit sketch. And it's showing me as 2 again. Deselect, reselect with just that little feature added. Let's see if this is the right path to go down. All right. So obviously giving me the same problem, but I want to see if this is the right way to do this. I'm trying to remember. Pattern on the path, faces, because I want those little features. I want that and that. And what is my path? That line. So now drag it out. Boom. Same thing. So clearly I need at least 4. And I also want the direction to go symmetric on both sides. But I don't want it all the way around. Spacing. Geez, this is going to get confusing, isn't it? So let's drag that back. It's doing symmetric on either side, so that's obviously problematic. Or is. Let's double that. Let's say 8. Oh, that's so many. Let's look at this from the top. Might be slightly less confusing. So unfortunately, this pattern on a path really isn't as effective. You see, it works okay, but for like this, it's not locking the triangles to that ellipse. So unfortunately, it looks like what I might actually have to do is go in and do some of these manually. So that's extremely irritating. But you see where I'm going with this. Let's try this path direction. That's definitely better. It's not really what I wanted, but I think we're getting kind of, at the very least, wrong slider. Didn't mean to grab that one. Just playing with the extents here. Yeah, I mean, that's better than not. So, all right, let's do that. Click OK. Now that's adding to my extrusion, and it is doing on both sides. So what that means is, great, I just need to go back and adjust the extrusions themselves. So edit that feature again. Let's see here. Nope, wrong one. Okay, hang on a second. Trying to figure out what I just did. That's part of that one. There. Whew. Probably should have had it affect that other body. No. Okay. Yes. 2 selected. Just want that. Don't make me redo this. There we go. Correct selection. I just had to readjust my, just like I did for the first set of teeth, readjust for that. and adjust my actual selection choice. Okay. Problem is it duplicated everything at some point here. What is going on here? What just happened? It just created multiple bodies here or something. That is super weird. Let me step back. Yeah. Okay, I am not sure what's going on there. That's weird. I'll have to have a look at that. Okay, well, rather than wasting y'all's time, me troubleshooting that. All right, so that's pretty much how to go about this. Now, granted, I just threw a bunch of new tools at you, but it's largely the same things, just using them in slightly different ways. Now, again, should I go about and rounding stuff out? Absolutely. Things like fillets can, of course, be applied to, say, like these edge lines and such. Curve that in a bit. Oh, I think I've gotten multiple resource warnings. I think I'm at the edge of what this computer could do here. Yep. It's starting to freak out on me. Let me pause the nope, there it goes. All I wanted is a little bit. Oh. Holy moly, this is definitely freezing up everything. All right, there we go. So we'll just go with the 2, and that rounded that out. You get where I'm going with that. All right, so if you're doing a pair of pliers or something like that, yeah, there's most certainly some different challenges to this, but that's largely what we're going for. I want to make sure that I have my main features in of, oops, sorry. I have my main features in, the teeth and all of that. Obviously, again, I still need to figure out what's going on with that last step. I want to have the extrusions will have to go in 2 directions because of how pliers work in the offset tool. Make sure your hardware is put in place. And of course, the last step or a step in there is make sure that you have a joint applied. So I hide the hardware because it's a lot easier to deal with without. I want to put my joint smack in the middle. So let's hide side 2. Select side 1. Mouse over the center there. There we go. Unhide. And I want to plop that right in the middle there. There we are. And motion is revolute. Click OK. Remember, I want to make sure to ground one side. So let's select side 2. Go up, ground. Great. And let's adjust that joint. Not the rigid. I want the revolute one. Let's add some flags here. Open that up. Let's say, I don't know, 40 degrees, 45, sure. Animate that just to double check. That works pretty well. There we go. And joint added. Ooh, geez. So now when I grab that, one side moves properly, the other stays put. Plop my hardware back in. Let's hide some sketches so I can see what I'm looking at. And I'm not sure why the auto assign coloring gave both components the same color, but not a big deal. At least there's 2 different components. But all right, a lot of different ways of using the same tools again. Main thing is it has to have 2 components plus hardware, and then it has to also move and model it as best you can close to your original model. Okay, so good luck, and please let me know where I can help or not. I'm not sure. All right, thank you very much.